Welcome to News 9 and you are watching On Point. Today we have two On Points. The first On Point is on the aftermath of the Prime Minister Oli's resignation in Nepal in the wake of the anti-corruption protests. The second On Point is on the massive street protests in France after President Macron appoints another Prime Minister. Now let's take a quick look at the headlines. 7 border districts in Uttar Pradesh put on high alert amid Nepal crisis. Security beefed up at border outposts, police stations and checkposts. A day after Prime Minister Oli's resignation, Nepal army takes charge, imposed nationwide restrictions and curfew. Nepal Tribhuvan airport resumes services 24 hours after shutting down amid violent protests. Actor Darshan breaks down in court over poor living conditions in jail. Judge rebukes Darshan for suicidal remarks. Fitch rating raises India's economic growth forecast for the current fiscal year from 6.9 after Aishwarya Rai, Abhishek Bachchan moves Delhi High Court seeking protection of personality rights. And now let me start On Point with a big breaking. Yes, I'm talking about Sushila Karki. I'm talking about former Chief Justice of Nepal. I'm talking about the person who is going to lead the interim government if everything falls in place. Student leaders had a 4-hour virtual meet in which former Chief Justice Sushila Karki has been named by these Gen Z leaders to lead interim government. She has confirmed her willingness to take the job. She is the only woman to have held the job of Chief Justice in Nepal. Young protesters also said that affiliated political parties should not participate in discussion with army. Now the big question is how Karki will lead Nepal. Muhammad Yunus too was brought in like this in Bangladesh, but interim government continues to stay put in Dhaka till date, defying its original mandate. So she is the woman of the movement, Sushila Karki. I'm joined by my guest, S.D. Muni, author and Professor Emeritus, School of International Studies. Thank you so much. Lokraj Baral, former Ambassador of Nepal to India. Thank you so much, sir, for joining me. Two very young voices, Sachin Timul Sinha, Youth Leader, Nepali Congress Party, and Priyadarshini Khanal, Gen Z protester. Thank you. Let me take an opening comment from Professor Muni. Sir, this just reminds me of Dhaka, whereby Muhammad Yunus' name came about. Everyone was taken by surprise. Your opening comment on the consensus the Gen Z crowd has reached on the Sushila Karki.
Well, I think in my mind this is a much better choice because the names which were circulating earlier were of Balen Shah on the one hand, Ravi Lamichhane on the other, Mr. Gurung, who is the youngsters leader. All these names are good, but there are little problems with each one of them. Ravi Lamichhane has corruption charges on him. He was in the prison, and as you know, prison was broken to bring him out, and with him came many other criminals also outside. But he has not been cleared of the charges put on him about the corruption. Balen Shah is young, has a very independent image there, but some of the statements which he has been making against the Oli government, which is understandable, but even in terms of the actions which he pleaded extremities, he has no political affiliation, no political party supporting him, and less of experience. Now, as against this, Sushila Sushila Karki, has a very clear, clean image and an independent image, and she had taken very bold decisions during her tenure. But she also doesn't have the political experience. So it is quite possible that she would be led both by the youth leaders on the one hand, and to some extent, I don't expect that too much, also army, which will really control the situation.
Okay.
Because without that, it would not be possible for her to govern. And I think with sane advice coming to her from whatever sources it does, perhaps she would be able to manage the interim arrangement.
Okay,
Just one more.
Let me
That
just take...
interim arrangement is only for holding elections.
Okay.
And if she can draw an election plan, good enough.
Okay, let me take a younger response. Priyadarshini, why Sushila Karki?
So amidst all the chaos that's happening, and thank you very much for inviting me first and foremost, definitely. So amidst all the chaos, we are looking for a caretaker government to implement reforms and to actually give us what we're looking for, that is stability, accountability, justice, and anti-corrupt government. So we're looking for that, and Sushila Karki definitely. Now what we're talking about is the state's leader, someone who can actually have the leadership capacities, someone who can actually lead. And for that, we just not just young bloods or bloods that are boiling, but we also require experience, knowledge on that realm. So amidst all the political unrest right now and PM's Oli's resignation and everything that has happened, why Gen Z protests are endorsing Sushila Karki is because they fear we are favoring a non-partisan, a trusted figure capable of building country towards stability, right? So we're not looking for a political individual coming up front and representing any of the political ideology or any of that is prevailing since like 30-40 years in the context of today. So her non-partisan image and judicial background position makes her, like, we perceived her as an ideal figure right now. He has been an unbiased mediator, and she has a political polarization. So that also aids on us deciding that Sushila Karki might be the next figure that can actually lead for interim time.
Okay. Mr. Baral and Sachin, please wait. Let me take my guess through what happened today. Just to give an overview to a larger audience, what has happened in Nepal in last 72 hours. I mean to say last 72 hours has been very, very different for Nepal, violent. And these are the pictures which are telling us the real story. The Gen Z protests in Nepal has left behind a fiery aftermath. The violence didn't abate even after Prime Minister Oli stepped down. Though there is calm on the street, what began as demonstrations escalated into a coordinated attack on symbols of authority. In Kathmandu, protesters vandalized and set to fire homes of politicians, government offices and hotels. The scale of destruction was unprecedented. Protesters set fire to the parliament, the Prime Minister's residence and part of the Singha Darbar. Parts of the federal parliament were reduced to ashes. The 5-star Hilton Hotel in Kathmandu was charred with burnt windows and there was structural damage. The presidential palace too was not spared by the protesters. So if you look at Kathmandu before and after, it tells you a very sordid story.
ये देश हमारा है, ये जिंजी लोग का देश है, ये नेता लोग सब भाग गया, ये नेता लोग काम चोर है, भ्रष्टाचारी है।
जो ये जो हुआ है ना, ये इतना कुछ ये सोशल बैंडिंग के लेके नहीं हुआ है। हम लोगों को चाहिए यूथ लीडर चाहिए। अब हम लोग परिवर्तन खोज रहे हैं। ये बूढ़े लोग है ना, ये बूढ़े लीडर है ना, वो हम लोग अब वक्त हो गया है, अब नहीं चाहिए, हमारा यूथ चाहिए।
अब स्टूडेंट को ऐसे तरीके से मारेंगे तो कौन सा देश चलेगा? ये सब बहुत क्रूरल देश जैसा हो गया, क्रूरल शासन हो गया है। ये तो ओली का शासन ऐसा नहीं चलता है, कोई देश में ऐसा नहीं चलता है।
Okay, and now let me take you through a short history of Nepal. How did the modern Nepal we know came about? In 1768, Nepal was unified by King Prithvinarayan Shah, who founded the Kingdom of Nepal. In 1846, the reigns of Ranas began. Establishes hereditary prime ministers, sidelining monarchy. In 1951, end of Rana rule happened and restoration of Shah monarchy. In 1959, Nepal holds democratic elections, but King Mahendra dissolves government in 1960. in 1961. King Mahendra bans political parties, consolidates power under the new panchayat system. In between 1960 and 1990, panchayat system centralizes royal power. First Jan Andolan forces Biren to restore multi-party democracy in 1990. In 1996, Maoist insurgency begins, aiming to overthrow monarchy. 2001, Crown Prince Dipendra kills King Birendra, triggering shock over royal massacre. 2006, Second People Movement leads to end of absolute monarchy and peace talks with Maoists. 2008, monarchy abolished, Nepal becomes a federal democratic republic. 2008, Gyanendra steps down. 2015, new constitution adopted, restructuring Nepal into 7 provinces. 16, KP Sharma Oli becomes Prime Minister for the first time. Now let me take you through a list of fallen heroes, and let me remind you that it is only in 50s that Nepal became a Hindu Rashtra. Before that, Nepal was a Hindu society. So that is also very important. Now these are the fallen heroes. The old guard, KP Sharma Oli, CPN UML chairman, resigned as Prime Minister. Bishnu Prasad Paudal, former Finance Minister and Deputy PM, resigned with Oli. Pushpa Kamal Dahal Prachand, former Prime Minister, CPN Maoist Centre chairman. Gen Z views him as part of the old guard. Sher Bahadur Deuba, former Prime Minister, Nepali Congress President, home torched in protest. Babu Ram Bhattarai, former Prime Minister, 2 lakhs mass space, but these are the people associated with the old guard. Earlier, when the discontent rose against one government, another leader would step in, elections would be held, power kept rotating between Oli, Deuba and Pachanda. This time the anger is against all senior leaders. Now let us look at the new faces that have emerged to challenge the Nepal's old guard. Though Karki will lead the interim government as of now, but these people will have some say. As mentioned, Ravi Lamichhane, aged 50, started his career as a TV anchor, served as Deputy PM, Home Minister in 2022, popular among youth, but he has a jail term. Kathmandu Mayor Balen Shah, 35, a former rapper, singer, is popular among Gen Z for his unorthodox style of governance. Sudan Gurung, 36-year-old president of Hami Nepal, a youth-driven NGO, has an unblemished record in Nepali. Now let me introduce my guests before I do more detailing. Let me go across to Lokraj Baral. Sir, you have served in India as here. You have seen Nepal, you have taught students there. Can you just take us through the churning today when Nepal is coming to some sort of peace? Why did this violent churn took place, sir?
Number one, I think the resentment, anger, dissatisfactions were very much in circulation, and we're not happy with the way the government were running by the old leaders. They want delivery, they want services, quick services, some remedial measures from the government side. I think this is aspiration, in developing country, what we have rising aspiration and rising frustration. Rising aspiration give rising frustration. That has happened, and it is all over the world. But in small country, what happened? Even a small thing become big. If a small thing in India, such kinds of riots have taken place several times. In some provinces are taking place, other are left out. They are not touched by such incidents. But in our country, what happens? Even a small thing becomes big, and the demand put up by the youngster, the so-called Gen Z, I think they are genuine because they wanted to improve the situation, to just remove poverty, to remove corruptions, try to minimize corruption, and to be more, they wanted more responsible leaders to address their own grievances. That things were not there. That is not the only reason that triggered the situation, actually trigger of the situation, because immediately the government, without planning, without knowing any kind of implications, and without knowing the consequences that would like to follow, suddenly decided to impose a ban on the social media. Because in Nepal, what happens? Social media, is much more popular than the population itself. Nepali people, there are more mobile phones than the population of the country. This is the record. That's why people were suddenly, youngsters, we were also dissatisfied the way we were cut off. because now we are so much addicted to using such kind of devices. That is one thing, and we didn't expect this situation to happen, because we thought there will be a peaceful demonstration and they will put up their demands and they will show their restraint, and so civil society, all people were sympathetic to their demand. Suddenly, it turned, out to be violent and a kind of. We never expected that kind of situation, and I have seen several revolutions in Nepal since 1950. I have seen 1950 revolution. Also, I have seen the coup in 1960. I was witness to it. I have seen 79 student movement, and 1990 change, multi-party democracy, restoration.
Mr. Baral, I have a question. Mr. Baral, I have a question. I'll come to you because we need to talk about Sushila Karki, because she is the woman of the movement right now. Let me take opening comments from Sachin. Sachin, has now student leaders decided to go back, talk, no more protest, finally ended?
Well, good evening to all your viewers, and I have heard that the Gen Z Discord has decided to propose or nominate the name of Sushila Karki for the premiership. But till yesterday, Gen Z had all our support, not the violence that was there, the vandalism that was imminent. But my position today, being a young leader of Nepali Congress, is you cannot put this constitution in the litter, in the bin, and decide anything as such, right? So our bottom line today is Article 132B of our current constitution does not allow the former Chief Justice to be a Prime Minister. And in any case, if the constitution is scrapped, what is the alternative? Nobody has an answer to that, right? And what is the legitimacy of this agreement between the protesters and the Nepal army? We still do not know this. So my position today is, as per the constitution, Sushila Karki is not eligible to lead this government. That's the first point. The second thing is, if Gen Z wants somebody new, I think what they can do is they can figure out somebody from the current parliament. Remember, this is not an illegitimate parliament. This is a legitimate elected parliament. So if they're not happy with the biggest parties, what they can do is they can figure out somebody like a Prem Sewal, who is a single man parliamentarian in the parliament.
No, I understand Sachin, I understand the point you're making. But then if you look at what happened in Sri Lanka, even they were duly elected. You can have the problem in the process. Mahinda Rajapaksa and his party were duly elected. Awami League was also duly elected. Now, before I take this question to Professor Muni, about the constitution, what will happen to it. But sir, before that, let me play out a ground report from Kathmandu. And then I go to Professor Muni and ask him, what happens to the Nepalese constitution? How do we understand the Nepalese constitution? How different is it from the Indian constitution?
देखिए, एयर कंडीशन, चेयर, अलमारी, इस पोर्शन से लेकर उस पोर्शन तक मेरे कैमरा पर्सन चेतन आपको तस्वीर दिखाएंगे। यहां से लेकर वहां तक हम आपको तस्वीर दिखा रहे हैं। और हमें एक चीज और मिला, ये देखिए, ये शमशेर थापा किसी मिनिस्टर का वो नेम प्लेट है, इसको भी आग के हवाले कर दिया और तोड़ा गया। और इसके अलावा मैं बहुत सारी और चीजें, ये देखिए, ये प्रिंटर है, इसको भी आग के हवाले कर दिया गया। ये सीपीयू है, इसको भी आग के हवाले कर दिया गया। यहाँ पर एयर कंडीशन है, उसको आग के हवाले किया गया। अलमारी आप देख सकते हैं, और ये पूरा पोर्शन इस कमरे में आई है, सारे जो शीशे हैं वो टूट कर गिर गए। अलमारियां, जो डॉक्यूमेंट्स हैं, रिकॉर्ड्स हैं, सब कुछ जल गया है। ये वो जगह है जहां सांसदों के, अलग अलग दलों के सांसदों की कुर्सियां लगा करती थी। ये देखिए, सीढ़ी नुमा, किसी भी संसद में, जैसे भारतीय संसद को आप देखते हैं कि सीढ़ी नुमा स्ट्रक्चर है, ऊपर से लेकर मंत्रियों के बैठने की जगह होती है, एक तरफ पक्ष बैठता है, एक तरफ विपक्ष बैठता है। वो पूरा इलाका सब कुछ जलकर खाक हो गया है। और सामने का ये एंट्रेंस, ये रिसेप्शन, ये सब कुछ जलकर खाक है।
So this was our reporter inside the parliament and telling us how the entire thing was burned down. So Professor Muni, what's going to happen? Are we going to have an interim government? with the same constitution in place? What is your assessment, sir? You have been a very old Nepal watcher. Are they going to amend the constitution? And can the constitution be amended like this?
Well, my understanding is that in the turbulent times, constitutions are often deviated from, and you cannot really go by the letter and the spirit of the earlier existing constitutions in such times. Even in 2006 to 2008, there was an interim constitution framed, and they could not follow the 1990 constitution in letter and spirit. So I think the constitutional point may be valid, but the situation is not really normal. It's a fluid situation, and you have to make adjustments with this in one form or the other. Secondly, so far as we should not compare Nepal constitution with Indian constitution. You know, this is not quite acceptable to Nepal's own identity as a sovereign nation.
Professor Muni, my question was not saying that how different. The question was how different is the constitution of Nepal from the Indian constitution? Can you talk about that?
Well, the fundamentals are the same, but the structure of federalism is different.
Okay.
And in rights are the same, but you know the way they are implemented, and I must say that in the whole subcontinent, the constitutions are often being violated for political convenience in one way or the other. And later on, you know, all these cases in the Supreme Courts in India on the question of constitution, we see every now and then. And how we decide it, there is a certain fluidity in following constitutions in letter and spirit, and we must accept that for Nepal also.
Okay. Mr. Baral, do you think that this old guard is done? Their politics is done? They're over? Older political parties? Prachanda,
No, I
Oli?
Yes. I don't think the old guards will go away. That is quite natural. They must go. We also agree on that. But it doesn't mean that political party will be vanished. They are there. They are the force. They are organized. They have their own networking, everything. That's why this is the problem. Even if we try to form the government today for the time being, I agree with Professor Muni about the interim arrangement. Because sometimes what happens, doctrine of necessity also applied. Sometimes the situation demands that kind of doctrine of necessity, and that is there. Well, I also I agree with Mr. Similsena about the political party leaders, why they are left out, because by leaving them out, this problem is not going to be solved. They are the force to reckon with. Tomorrow they will come back with a big bang, and we should try to have their opinion also with regard to the present arrangement. Without their cooperation, tomorrow these parties are well organized. Even if they are, at the moment they like to be weak, they have not been able to, but they are there. They have been governing the country for the last, so many years. This is one thing, and I think I agree with Professor Muni that for the time being, it will be a time stopgap arrangement. It should be according to the constitution, but at the moment, just to salvage the situation, that is the only way out. To accept the former Chief Justice, I think she is okay as compared to many other personalities. She's okay instead of other people having that role.
Okay.
That is the best solution for the time being.
Okay. Now let me take my viewers to the key demands of the Gen Z leaders, and then I'll go to my both young guests. First, immediate dissolution of the current House of Representatives, amendment of the Constitution with participation from citizen experts and youth, conducted free and fair election after the interim period, establishment of a directly elected executive leadership, investigation into assets looted over the past 3 decades, illegal properties to be nationalized, structural reforms in education, health and justice, security and communication. Now, there's another aspect. What that is, people were very agitated about the Nepo kids, Who are these Nepo kids? The Gen Z protest channeled frustration among the youth at political privilege and corruption. It took the form of anger directed against Nepal's Nepo kids. Videos and images showcased Nepo babies flaunting their luxury cars, designer clothes, foreign education and lavish vacations. For thousands of Nepali youth, these brazen display of privilege symbolize disparities between Nepal's rich and poor, as well as systematic corruption. Anger against them spread like wildfire, with hashtags like politician Nepo baby, Nepo kids and Nepo babies garnering millions of views. So these were the visuals which really upset them. These were the visuals which you see on the left hand side of your screen. These are the visuals which really upset them. So let me straight away go to Priyadarshini Khanna. Do you think that this sort of a oligarchy which had, rooted itself in Nepalese polity really upset the younger generation? Because all of this was in social media.
It definitely does, sir. It definitely does. Each and every citizen of Nepal has been working day and night. We pay the taxes money. And the government is not accountable. They do not tell us where the taxes money are going. We do not know the things that we're paying for. We're not even getting a mere facilities. Let's talk about roads in Nepal. The situation is very gruesome. Let's talk about other mere facilities. Sometimes the electricities are getting cut off. Even if you're going for any documentation work in any governmental firms, our works are delayed. Not just that, even in a larger, deeper level, in education sector, we can see corruption each and everywhere. We could see in healthcare sector, we could see there has been favoritism, nepotism prevails, no matter in political sector, no matter in entertainment sector, of course it prevails. But in Nepal, we are getting to see. So what happens is Nepalese people have to leave Nepal each and every day just for a better future for theirs and their family. More than 1,500 youths are leaving Nepal, and the Nepo babies, the political children, are leaving Nepal out of their own for the entertainment purpose. They're visiting, they're buying luxurious products, while Nepalese people cannot even afford 2 meals. They're going on vacations. They're going to those nations where Nepalese people go to work day and night as laborers, and they can still not afford their family back home. While these people are going there for a vacation, to enjoy. When they buy a ticket to these vacation spots, they're buying 2-way tickets because they know they'll go there, they will ease their mind off. But when a normal Nepali citizen is going to those nations, they're going as laborers. Even those students who are leaving Nepal because they want a better future for themselves, they want to be in the better hands, because in the context of Nepal, even the education sector is very corrupted. Yes.
Okay, Sachin, you have 2 examples in front of you. You have a Bangladesh example where a lot of fringe parties made their way into the mainstream. We have seen that. You have a Sri Lanka example where democracy stands restored. Where do you think Nepal is going?
I mean, the Sri Lankan way would be, the better way for sure, because Bangladesh is in uncertainty still at this point of time. Sri Lanka at least managed to conduct.
Bangladesh still has an interim government. They still have an interim government. Interim government has become the government in Bangladesh.
Yeah, and nobody knows when's the next election. So that's what I was talking about in my earlier point. Now see, no matter how much of anger people have around, the president or the army chief cannot ignore the big political parties when you decide to go into an election, because you're not talking about an election without the major political parties. Can the Gen Z or any of the political entities who are deciding today imagine an election without the major political parties? I don't think so. As my senior mentioned right now. So what I'm talking about is not just
is Gen Z with these political parties. Is Gen Z with these political parties?
No, they're against it. But see, now I'll have to tell you, Nepali Congress is a political party with 800,000 members. You cannot discount that. UML has almost 600,000 members. You even half that number. How many people still remain in that party? You at least will have 200,000 to 300,000 members in that political party, and that's a massive number, right? So if you're thinking of an election, you cannot restrict any political party if you're thinking of a free and fair election anyways. So what I'm telling is, without the consensus of the older political parties, there cannot be a consensus between any point, and the legitimacy will be questioned in the future. Now, remember, the South Asians have shorter memories. Things change pretty quick. Today's hero can be tomorrow's villain. And I'll give an example. 5 years before, KP Oli was our sole savior. Where is he now? He fled. You know, you have heroes today, and in no time in a country like Nepal, you can turn that hero into a zero. So what I'm talking is, we'll have to fall back to senses. We'll have to fall back to structure. We'll have to fall back.
I'm really short. I'm really falling short of time. A closing comment from Professor Muni. Professor Muni.
Well, I think on these political parties, I have a slightly deviant view, both from my friend Baral and the young leader. The interim period has to be interim. The strength of the political parties will be assessed at the time of election when the interim arrangement comes to an end. Therefore, I think the strength of the political parties, and I can tell you several examples. In Sri Lanka, JVP defeated all the traditional parties and bigger political parties.
Yes.
In Bangladesh, this kind of happened. In Nepal itself, when the Maoists came, they defeated all the established political parties, and everybody was surprised how the Maoists got all kind of votes. So let us wait for the interim arrangement. In interim arrangement, the decisions may or may not be taken by the influence of the political parties. But I agree with you that when elections held, the strength of the political parties would assert, and we will see what people want.
Yes. Yes, thank you all of you. Thank you all of you for joining me. But this debate on Nepal, this conversation on Nepal will continue, because I am joined by Khushbu Oli. Thank you so much, Khushbu, for being with me. Khushbu Oli is member RPP Nepal Party. I'll take a short break, and this is going to be a one-to-one conversation with Khushbu as to what's happening in Nepal. When will this commotion on streets end? After a short break.
एसोसिएट स्पॉन्सर एंकर टूथपेस्ट, नए जमाने की नई सुरक्षा।
ब्यूटीफुल 18th सेंचुरी और अभी तक चल रही है। ज्यादा नहीं चलेगी। कुछ का प्रोमिनेंस नहीं, प्रोमिनेंस। वाओ, ओरिजिनल।
या स्पेन से लाए थे।
वहीं छोड़ा थे। प्रोमिनेंस नहीं है ना?
प्रोमिनेंस?
मैं कहना चाह रहा था कि प्रोमिनेंस नहीं है। प्रोमिनेंस मतलब Prominence Windows, इसमें है highest weather resistance और घर को रखे safe from termites, seepage, dust and noise. Prominence for the world you deserve.
The power of Digi-Alkaline from Nippo Thor.
Best sir. Architect जी, something special for you. बिरला ओपस assurance देने के लिए।
ऐसा क्या है इसमें?